Hello and happy Thursday. Welcome to another Lunch and Learn with Purse Strings. All of this month, we were talking about, the cost of taking care of aging parents. It's not sexy, but it's important to be talking about. And so if anyone's new here, Purse Strings is all about providing tips, tricks, pieces of advice on how to be financially fearless, and really bringing these conversations to the table. And then when you are helping your parents plan for their, long-term care, if you need your will and trust, planning for retirement, doing a budget, whatever it is, we have top-tier financial professionals willing, ready, and able to serve you. We call those our Purse Strings approved professionals, and Heather is one of them. So we're so excited to have her on today to talk about, kind of navigating this caregiving dilemma. But before we go into all of that, Heather, could you give a little intro of who you are and what you do?
Hi, so thank you so much, Maggie, for having me here today and, talking about this, important topic about caregivers. So I am a certified financial planner. I've been in the industry for over 30 years, and I help women caregivers and those suddenly single basically figure out their financial steps and strategies for the next and some of what they need to do to make the next years of their life.
Awesome. Yeah, they're always very stressful times, I know, but it's great to have a partner like you to kind of work through it and figure out, how to make the best of what's up and coming. So I'm excited to have you here for this conversation today. And I know when we were talking about before this, you're an experienced caregiver yourself, which is not uncommon for many women. So I know you have many personal experiences as well. But, I was actually talking to a different professional, and I learned the stat that 10,000 people are turning 65 every day for the next 7 years. And so caregiving is going to be a huge, huge dilemma that we have. You're a little frozen.
I'm frozen?
Oh yeah, you were. Now you're there. So we want to kind of dive into a couple different things about caregiving. So what's kind of,
I think one of our computers is glitching.
Let's see here.
Sorry, I missed.
No worries. Stick with us, folks, while I'm trying to double check the Wi-Fi and make sure we're good.
Yeah, caregiving.
Oh. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, so caregiving is emotional and physically demanding as well. That unfortunately can also go older adult woman, child. You're always a child. Dealing with the parents, as they age. So not only are they dealing with their own retirement and their own issues, they're also dealing with parents. Based on things that I've worked with over the past 30 years, today I'd like to just go about, 3 challenges that many caregivers face, and just, hope to give them some practical strategies to help them navigate, this role effectively and ensure that they prioritize their own health, because that's sometimes what we forget. We just kind of go full speed. As women, we're always dealing with kids, family, work, and add on caregiver, challenge as well. And some of the, seminars I talked about as the sandwich generation. So you're kind of sandwiched between, adult kids and aging, parents, and making sure that you take time for yourself as well, and not only provide the best care for your loved ones, but also take care of your own well-being.
Definitely. So, it's like that adage we hear all the time. It's like that adage we hear all the time of putting on your, air mask before helping the person next to you, because like on the airplane.
Exactly. So, not only have I dealt with it with my clients, from a personal experience, it made me realize what was really important. So my husband's grandmother was dealing with her aging issues, kind of came to a head when she ended up almost setting fire to her place because she left the stove on. She was in her 90s, still living on her own. And, it was just a challenge, finding a place because she wasn't, English wasn't her first language, that was going to care for her, but then also transitioning her out of her home, into all the challenges with, how do you manage the move and how do you, different resources. And, obviously we're not there all the time. And then she's missing her friends in her location where she, was comfortable with, her community. And how do you, replicate that for her. And then also all of the other things you don't think about, like the financial issues, like the tax returns and all of the things. So, so there's really kind of three main areas. Looking at, the techniques, how do you set boundaries to avoid burnout, and then receive compensation, or is, that at all possible? Because that's one thing that you don't think about is driving here and there, picking, taking time off work, also, potentially paying for, supplies needed. And if the aging person, if you're not joint or on any of their bank accounts, you have to rely on them to remember to kind of pay for that. And then how do you ask for that? So, so all kinds of things that, are challenging.
Definitely.
So,
those are a lot of challenging things.
So really, I just want to help, give people a bit of an overview of what resources are available, helping them navigate the challenges, and then, make sure that they're adequately compensated for, their invaluable work, because that's one of the things that, I think that it's, the stats are like there's 70% of the population care, is unpaid. And, it's kind of like the challenge of being an unpaid mother, right? You have so many hats and so many tasks, and, people forget that there is involved. And like I said, there's generally going to be one child that's going to step up and take care of that. Usually it's, a female child, because that's just our nature. We're just nurturing and help, want to help everyone. So that's the challenge. So really, like, the first phase is kind of separating tasks. It's make sure that you've got boundaries and that you identify and prioritize tasks. So I think, it's, again, making a list and kind of seeing what all the tasks are involved. Like, for example, when we were moving my, husband's grandmother, it was like, okay, who's going to pack up the house? Who's going to, clean the house? Who's going to make sure that, all the utility, names are changed or canceled? Who's going to help transition and make sure the setup on the other end? So looking at, big steps, sort of year, month, week, and then, making sure that there's expectations set for time. And then, looking at delegating. So recognizing that, you don't have to do everything alone, maybe having a family meeting, making sure that everyone involved, maybe one person can handle, the house calling others, one person can handle, the bank account, and also make sure that you continually communicate that. And also seek out service for local, if the person has Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer Society, there's Arthritis Society, there's all kinds of caregivers, Facebook groups that you can reach out to, and then using technology as well. For example, the internet, that, and as a social media groups, there's all kinds of groups. If there's hundreds of groups on Facebook for all kinds of, information, and, look at resources, support groups, and, to just alleviate the burden on you, that's kind of the main thing. And then, setting boundaries, establishing, making sure that you're taken care of as well, define your role, which goes back to, making sure that everyone understands their role in the process, so things don't get missed. Like coordinating doctor's appointments and things like that. Making sure that you're in contact with all of the other providers, and then prioritizing self-care for not only yourself, but, the person you're caring for. Hobbies, keeping those up, because sometimes when you move from one location to another, you miss those social connections. So making sure that there's, breaks to unwind as well. Focusing on diet and exercise. One thing that while they're in a care facility, sometimes you also have to bring in additional help. So understanding when that's needed. And then also making sure that, you use things if they're not in a home, but they're in their own home still. Community programs like, Alzheimer's, Meals on Wheels, things like that to help you with daily tasks. There's also some local retirement homes that have overnight programs. So you can say to the, so to give the person a break, the caregiver break and the senior break. So you can say, kind of treat it like a spa weekend. Say, you know what, you're going to go to this place. They're going to give you your meals. And that gives you that break. There's also day programs that people can go to, setting that up so that there's a break from that. And then, making sure you ask for help. And sometimes, unfortunately, saying no to things that, you can't do everything. It's okay to say no, to ask for help if you're overwhelmed. Because if, again, the caregiver is overwhelmed and stressed, then the person you're caring for is not going to get the best care, that they potentially can need. And, again, it goes back to like the delegating.
I was going to say, I love the delegating, or I love writing the list of everything and then kind of delegating, because you can see if it's, weighing too hard almost on somebody, or, try to see that a little bit more, or see if somebody is getting stacked up and they will need some more time. Because, then you just kind of take it in a logical perspective. Even though there are other times where you are going to need a break, but you can see where can we bring in resources, where can we bring in help, and kind of plug in the holes, which is essential because everyone does really want to help, but they don't always know how. So finding that way they can kind of help is, really benefits everyone.
Yeah. And, I remember that, I can't remember what it was. I think it was called Molly's Help or Molly's. Anyway, it was this guy who, a son who actually videoed his mother's transition through Alzheimer's and how, she deteriorated. And, he basically from that, had so many people. He set up a Facebook group, and there were so many people that, he had comments from. It just kind of snowballed into this, big support network. So, if you think you're going through it alone, you probably aren't. And there's probably someone out there who's done it. And, the internet, social media groups that we have available is, really, amazing that there's a group for everything. So the third thing I kind of want to touch on was, compensation. So, how do you make sure that you don't, compromise your own financial security when dealing with a person that you're caring for? Because again, it's, a role that some people feel that is potentially their obligation as a child, or a family member to help out. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of resources available to help you financially. Things like, government programs, nonprofit organizations, you can ask for grants, or the day programs. You can get, 1 to 2 hours of nursing care in potentially, depending on, the type of ailment, local initiatives. So, you can go from high level, government to, low level community. And there's also, seniors for seniors, people that will drive seniors places, that can help with, so someone can drive and then you can pick them up so that you're not doing, both. And then some, offer subsidies, as well as even like the military has special benefits for care. And then tax credits as well. So what other, assistance is available that way, or employer sponsored. So now some employers are offering benefits instead of, health benefits, basically time off for care.
Wow.
So, find out, your company maybe, offer and support that as well. Because, that's another thing, that if you have to take time off for caring and you're not given that support, then that, sometimes people will give up their job and go to a different job. So, making sure that you talk to your employer about it, because there may be programs available as well. And again, just making sure that through the different organizations that if there's any paper you fill out, and, because you want to also keep progression of the illness, making sure legal and financial documents are set up, powers of attorney, care directives, because once someone gets in a late stage Alzheimer's, then you can't change a will. It's very difficult. So, making sure that that's all set up properly. So, so those are kind of really the points that I wanted to, review, just, by helping implementing strategies, having a plan. It's like the financial, plan that I work with my clients. It's, figure out where you are today and where you want to be, and a plan to kind of get you there. And that kind of goes with any challenge that you're dealing with.
I love that. That's a great, kind of, it's very parallel in that kind of way. And, from having this conversation, I was thinking, I think when you become a caregiver, sometimes it comes on really fast. And so it might seem hard to kind of find some of these resources right away. But when you just talk to, someone like Heather, who works with people like this every day, they know a list of resources. If you talk to your office, maybe they didn't present something before, but if you bring up, you need more hours at home, or you need this flexibility, they're usually there. And so it's just opening kind of that conversation, because I think a lot of us do have these resources that we're happy to help present. We just didn't know you needed them, and you didn't know you needed them until right now. And then once that comes up, you have these great resources where you can help with your financials, but also, I know some things in the community, or some things that other people have done as well, which I think is really, a valuable resource.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And, if there's any questions, you can reach out to myself. My email's there. And, you can reach out to Purse Strings, because there's so many wonderful people within that community, that if I can't help you, I'm sure someone else can. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Definitely. And there's one other question I had for you before we logged off today. I don't know what it is, but I think this was a ton of great advice, and just kind of, to work with each other, set in those boundaries, try and delegate as much as you can. And then, as if this isn't your situation right now, we always say, try to be prepared, get those powers of attorney, like you were mentioning, get those finances in order, start having some of these conversations. So you are more prepared when the time comes. So I appreciate you coming on today, Heather. And like she said, her email's been going through the bottom. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals. So you can check her out on our site, pursestrings.co. And let's get this conversation started. All right. We'll talk to everyone soon.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.